Hi, everybody. I am Wrendi Mcdavid, and I am a 6th through 8th grade social studies teacher at Fallsburg Elementary School. And this summer, thanks to KVEC, I was able to participate in the Modern Classroom project. And here's a little overview of the Modern Classroom project. Um, it's based upon blended instruction. So students can access the content that they need for their classes through teacher-created videos. It is self-paced, so students are in control of the pace of their own learning. And we work toward mastery-based grading, where they progress from one lesson to another when they demonstrate mastery of what we placed in front of them. So over the summer, we were placed with a virtual mentor, and it was awesome because I had access to somebody that has been utilizing Modern Classroom in their classroom for several years. So when you sign up for the mentorship program, you are paired with somebody that is either in a similar grade level, or they also teach the subject area that you teach. And in my case, I was very lucky to be with somebody that also taught middle school social studies. And as you go through the program, you create classroom ready content so that you are ready to go. You get a cohort experience. They sign you up for Slack so that you can talk to other people that are also going through the mentorship program to form support and get ideas from other people that are utilizing this same program. And whenever you are finished with the virtual mentorship, you can receive 3 graduate credits or 4.5 CEUs, or you can come out with a micro credential from Digital Promise. So there is a way that you need to go through Modern Classroom in order to make it successful. And you begin with the end in mind. So your first step is to go through and create mastery checks. You need to figure out what objectives that you're going to be teaching in your lessons for every lesson that you're going to do for the unit. And then you need to set the criteria for mastery. And what I've put here is just one example of one of the quizzes that I had created for one of the lessons throughout the unit. And then the other picture is of our summative assessment, what we would take at the end of the unit. And I would consider the students to have mastered the content if they had passed all of the shorter learning checks. My quizzes are about 10 questions, and my summative assessment is about 20. You then create instructional videos, and these instructional videos are made beforehand, and your students have to complete notes as they are going through the instructional videos. I used Edpuzzle for mine. So they're really completing 2 different assignments whenever they do go through and complete a video. So as they're watching, they're taking their notes, and periodically the Edpuzzle will stop and ask them a question to kind of gauge their comprehension. And I'm going to play an example of one of the instructional videos that I use for the Modern Classroom project.
Hey everybody, it is Mrs. Mcdavid, and we are ready to jump into our section 2, which is lesson 2. And we're going to be learning today about Mesopotamian civilization. And I've put up a map here so you can kind of get in the mindset of the area in the world where we are learning about. Your objective for this lesson is I can describe Mesopotamia and how the world's earliest civilizations developed. So keep in mind, we're going to be learning about more than one civilization and how they came to their power.
And I'm going to pause right there. At this point, the students would go to their notes and they would type in the objective that they had for that lesson, which is really great because you want your students to know what it is we want them to get out of all the lessons that we teach. And here we are telling them the objective, and they are also taking it and placing it into their notes. And I'm just going to show you just a little bit more so you can kind of see the meat that goes into the lesson.
So civilizations are complex societies with cities, government, art, religion, class divisions, and a writing system. All of those are so important for a civilization to flourish. Rivers were very important because they made for good farming conditions and made it easy for people to travel and to trade. And as you keep taking the lessons in this class, you are going to see that so many of our civilizations really thrived anytime that they were near a good source of water because
Okay, I'm gonna stop that there. So as the students are watching these videos, as you make them, you want to keep your videos kind of short and to the point. So the most important things that the students are need to know is what we are going to relay to them. And they really focus upon using pictures or animations or videos in order to keep their attention as they're watching the videos. So as this video progresses that the students have to watch, they also will come over here and they'll answer questions as they go. And then at the very end, they are going to answer a question that is related to the day's objective. And that could also be kind of an exit slip if you wanted some kind of quick assessment to make sure that they are pulling the information that they need from the lesson. Your next step after you have created the videos that you are going to use is that you're going to make a self-pacing plan for the students. All of the modern classroom project lessons throughout a unit are categorized 3 ways: as a must do, as a should do, and as an aspire to do. So I created this self tracker for each student that has a list of all of the lessons that go along with the unit. And then over the side, in that second column, they have to go in and write down the date that it was completed. If a lesson is categorized as a must do, they must do that one. That is like the bare minimum to get through, for a student to get through and actually receive the content and instruction that they need in order to reach a level of mastery. Your should do's and your aspire to do's are kind of a little bit extra, something maybe that is a little bit more fun and more exciting. That you want to do that so that students will have the motivation to want to complete the should do's and the aspire to do's. It's taking your lessons to the next level. It's great for students that are advanced. It gives them some differentiation in the classroom, and they're doing all of that at their own pace. So the students have to keep this self-pacing plan with them throughout the unit so that they know, here's where I started yesterday, I completed these assignments, and this is where I need to start today. This is also great for your students that really want to know what is going on the second that they walk into the classroom. I know a lot of kids, as soon as their feet go through the door, they're like, what are we doing today? What do we need to do? What are we doing? And this kind of cuts that out because they know. They were like, okay, yesterday I stopped at 2.4, so that means today I'm going to start at 2.5. It really cuts that down, and it also is good for those students that want to have that, I guess, sense of control over what they're doing in the classroom each day. Your next step would be to create your learning design plan. And really that means that you are going to optimize your learning management system and also create your classroom layout in a way that's best for this type of learning. And I'm going to show you a video now of what I show to the students at first so that they have a good understanding of how their Google Classroom will be set up to optimize their learning during the modern classroom project.
When you click on the classwork tab, you'll see over on the left-hand side that you will have quick access to what you need to do for Unit 1, your trackers to keep you on track, as well as a place to go if you need access to your textbook when you are not in the classroom, okay? So just for right now, the only unit that I have up is Unit 1 in order to get us familiar with it. If you'll look at your own tracker, you'll see that you have lesson 1.1, lesson 1.2. This is where you go to find those lessons. Each thing that I've posted on here has a title. It'll tell you which lesson that it is, what the assignment is, and if it is a must do, a should do, or an aspire to do. And remember, we have to get in those must do's. I really want you to get in the should do's. And I'm going to be out of this world excited if you can make it to the aspire to do's.
So the
When
students,
you click on the class,
sorry, the students did so well finding their assignments and keeping track of what it is that they needed to be doing. I had to spend very little time on showing them where they needed to be because I think I have everything laid out here in a way that's very user friendly and it matches the tracker that I gave them. So they are it's very easy for them to get on their Google Classroom and, say find lesson 1.5 and go ahead and begin on that activity.
when you click on the class,
I do have some pros and cons after I've went through the Modern Classroom project. I'm going to start with my pros. It does free up the teacher to work in small groups or one-on-one with students that are really struggling. I'm not spending all of my time teaching everyone at one time. I'm not lecturing. I'm not doing one whole group activity. The kids are kind of on their own, and it leaves me free to go through and help those that need additional support. The kids can go through at their own pace. They can go back and revisit videos to clarify any questions that they may have. They do take ownership of their progress utilizing that self tracker. It's great for students that are absent because they can access Google Classroom at any time and they can complete the assignments that they need to be working on. So, in our case, if we have a student that's quarantined for 5 days, during those 5 days, if they're not feeling bad, they're able to continue their work just like the students that are in person. We recently received Hapara to use at our school, and it is the greatest thing on earth because we're able to see what the students are doing on their laptops because we are a one-to-one school, and we can also guide their browsing to make sure that they are only on websites that are appropriate for the assignment. So the way that I utilize that is that I have Hapara up and going on my computer so that I can see what the other students are doing. And you can kind of just tell if a student is struggling, and I can monitor Hapara and then go over and say, hey, Jimmy, I see that you're having a little bit of trouble with this. How can I help you? What can I do to make this go a little bit better? And then it's also great if you have a substitute, because your content delivery wouldn't be missed and it wouldn't be altered because the students are learning from the lessons that are created by the teacher via a video. So the substitute would be there pretty much facilitating and making sure that the students are on track. I do have some cons though. Modern Classroom is wonderful, but there are some cons. It is very time consuming up front, very time consuming, but anything that you create can be used again in the future. And it may not necessarily be in a Modern Classroom delivery. It may be something that you can use in your own way. Thankfully, well, not necessarily thankfully, but back when we were virtual, I created so many lessons using Google Forms, and it was very easy for me to just move them over to where they needed to go during the Modern Classroom project. So I didn't have to remake a lot of formative and summative assessments, but I did have to go through and create a lot of videos and create presentations to go along with that, as well as the notes that the students will be taking. So that aspect of it is very time consuming. There are also some teachable moments that you might miss out on that naturally occur whenever you are doing whole group instruction. Class discussions kind of have to be planned carefully if you are going to do whole group, because not everyone in the classroom is going to be in the same part of the unit. It might feel overwhelming as a teacher when the students are finishing at different times, and you may have to come up quickly with ideas for additional lessons if you have someone that has completed everything and then you still have several students that haven't quite finished the unit yet. And I found that it's a little difficult to motivate students to complete those should do and those aspire to do activities. And I'm still working on some ways that I can get the kids to want to push themselves to that level. And here are a couple of pictures of the students while they are working with the modern classroom. I kind of let them sit where they want to sit. A lot of times they gravitate to one another based upon where they're at in their unit. They want to be with someone that is kind of on their same level so that they can work together. And I'm completely okay with this type of group work so long as everyone is making a contribution. And again, Hapara is a really good way to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. I've also had students that have completed assignments and then they've went to help someone else in the classroom with their lesson. And I think that's great for both parties. Sometimes students learn and retain more whenever they're learning from a peer. So it's nice to have some students freed up to help push along the students that may need extra support. I asked the students for their feedback. I wanted to know what they thought about Modern Classroom Project. And they said, I liked seeing how many assignments that I completed on one sheet. They liked the different types of assignments. They like that they can go on their own pace. They like how they had to take notes. They liked being able to re-watch videos and again, completed at their own pace. I like this one. It didn't stress me out if I was behind or ahead of the group, which is great. There was less talking during class, which helped me focus on my work. I didn't feel rushed, and I felt like the kids in my class were more occupied. So in a way, these kids did not come right out and say this, but you can see by their comments that the students are engaged whenever they are participating in Modern Classroom. And they just have their own tiny ways of showing that here. What they disliked, one of them said the number of assignments, the work seemed repetitive. And that's on me. That's the teacher looking back at this saying, okay, I need to change some things up. Somebody said, I understand better when my teacher teaches the group as a whole. And that might be, if that's the case, when the student completes several lessons and they aren't obtaining the information as well as they would normally, that might be a kid that I just work one-on-one with to ensure that they are getting all of the instructions that they need to be successful. Someone said I couldn't always ask a question as I thought of it during the video, which now seeing the feedback, I want to leave a place on the notes for the students to be able to jot down a question that they may have so they don't forget about it. They can still ask me about it after they finish their lesson. And then someone else had said that the lessons are short, and they are. My lessons are short. They spend more of their time actually completing the work part of it, but I think that they aren't used to seeing content chunked in this way at the middle school level. So I can understand that complaint. And then I wanted to know what parts of the Modern Classroom helped them the most. Someone said watching the videos on my own helps me because it's hard to pay attention. So this kind of helped keep them focused. If there's a video, you can go back if you didn't hear your teacher. And we don't get that in real life. We can't always hit a rewind button and get the information that we need. Sometimes something is said, a student might get distracted, and that information is forever lost. So in this case, they can go back very easily to hear what I've said. And then someone else had said the notes helped because I can go back and review. So I had a lot more positive than I did negative when it comes to the Modern Classroom Project and my students. So if this is something that you are interested in learning more about or utilizing in your classroom, the Modern Classroom Project has a free online course that you can take. And I've put the link up here at the top of the page. You can go through, there are all kinds of videos that will show you how to set this up. And they also have tons of free resources at your disposal. They have publications, they have exemplar units. I went through the exemplar units like crazy to kind of get an idea of what it is I needed to be doing as a teacher. They have PLC guides, webinars, podcasts, blogs, and tech tutorials. This website's fantastic, and it gives you a good idea of what is to be expected before you actually dive in and do a virtual mentorship program.